40 minutes before my sister's wedding, I felt the first sharp pain. At first I smiled and told myself it was only stress. The church was buzzing with excitement. Guests filled every row. Photographers rushed from one room to another. My mother was giving orders like a general preparing for battle. I was 9 months pregnant, but my due date was still more than a week away. Everyone believed there was plenty of time. Then another contraction hit, stronger. This time I quietly walked over to my mother and whispered, "I think I'm in labor." She looked at me for only a second before her face turned cold. "Not today," she said. "Your sister has waited her whole life for this moment. You can hold on," I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. "I need to call my husband," I said, reaching into my purse. Before I could grab my phone, she snatched it away. "You're not ruining this wedding." She hissed, "One phone call and everyone will panic." I stared at her in disbelief. "Mom, I'm having contractions every few minutes." "You'll survive another hour," she replied then without another word. She walked into the bridal suite, placed my phone inside a decorative gift box, locked it in a cabinet and slipped the key into her purse. I couldn't believe what had just happened. The pain became unbearable. I searched for someone to help, but everyone was focused on the bride. Makeup artists surrounded my sister. Bridesmaids adjusted dresses, and relatives kept asking me to smile for family photos. Each contraction stole my breath. I tried borrowing another phone, but most guests had left theirs on silent. During the ceremony preparations, I felt trapped finally. An elderly woman sitting quietly near the entrance noticed my pale face, "My dear." She asked softly, "Are you all right?" Tears rolled down my cheeks. "I'm in labor and my mother took my phone." Her eyes widened without hesitation. She handed me her own phone. I called my husband the moment he heard my voice. He knew something was wrong. "I'm coming right now," he said. Within 15 minutes he arrived with paramedics. The church doors burst open just as the wedding music began. Guests turned in shock. The paramedics rushed toward me with a wheelchair. Only then did my mother realize what she had done. She tried to stop them. "Can't this wait until after the ceremony?" she asked desperately. One paramedic looked at her in disbelief. "Ma'am," he replied firmly, "babies don't schedule deliveries around weddings." The entire room fell silent. My sister, already standing at the end of the aisle in her beautiful white dress, slowly lowered her bouquet. Instead of looking angry, she looked heartbroken. "You knew she was in labor?" she asked Mom. Mother couldn't answer. The truth hung heavily in the air. Guests began whispering. Some shook their heads. Others stared at my mother with disappointment. As I was wheeled toward the ambulance, my sister suddenly lifted her dress and ran after me. She hugged me carefully despite my contractions. "You should have been the priority," she whispered. "Go meet your baby." "My wedding can wait." Those words broke me. An hour later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She was perfect, tiny fingers, bright eyes, a loud cry that filled the hospital room with hope. When my husband placed her in my arms, every painful moment disappeared. Later that evening, my sister arrived at the hospital, still wearing her wedding dress. The ceremony had been delayed. She carried flowers in one hand and tears in the other. I wanted to meet my niece before saying I do. She said we cried together. She kissed the baby's forehead and smiled. "This," she whispered, "is the happiest wedding gift I could ever receive." Our mother arrived much later. She stood quietly near the hospital door, unable to meet our eyes for the first time in my life. She apologized. She admitted she had been so obsessed with creating the perfect wedding that she forgot what truly mattered: family life, love. Forgiveness didn't happen instantly. Trust had to be rebuilt, but that day changed every one of us. Months later, whenever we looked through the wedding album, one photo always stood out above the rest. It wasn't the first kiss, it wasn't the first dance. It was my sister standing in her wedding gown beside a hospital bed, smiling as she held her newborn niece for the very first time. That picture reminded us that perfect moments are rarely planned. Sometimes, the most unforgettable memories come from unexpected interruptions. A wedding celebrates the beginning of one family. A birth welcomes another, and on that extraordinary day, both miracles happen together, proving that love is never diminished when shared. It only grows stronger.